Artificial intelligence, I guess that's a good place to start. So currently, we're watching as the different models are dropping. There's improvements all across the board. And it seems like it's just like watching a Laker game, right? You see something come on and everybody's so excited about it. It's the best ever, best thing they've ever seen. And then not too long, another company, one of these major tech companies, the big five, drops their update. And then, oh my God, it's better than it's ever been. We're watching, though, as some of the scoring is starting to be pretty close. And in addition, there are particular models that seem to be rising above the others in the way of their specific abilities, like image generation. Seems like Nano Banana is running the game, but 5.2, OpenAI's 5.2, ChatGPT seems to be catching up. But when you start looking at it, when you start working with these different image models and want them to change particular things, I think Gemini still wins that game, Nano Banana, because you can have it modify an image. Now, as long as you give it the proper context, it does it pretty well. Then you look at spreadsheet organization. Now, Google has a boatload of tools. There's so many tools in Google. You have AI Studio. You have a lot of different things you can use. Notebook LM, if you haven't used that as somebody that's maybe a purveyor of new technology, it might not be a bad idea to look at it. And also using AI a little bit differently than maybe you have as an instructor, as a mentor, as somebody to teach you things might not be a bad idea as well. I do know that's the best way that I try to wrap my brain, this non-neuroplastic brain around new technology, by having AI teach me things and asking it. And Google Gemini has actually a prompt that's already built into it that says teach me or learn me or whatever it might say. But that's something that you can do as well. Now, watching these large language models, some of the big scare tactics of the past, and again, you have people that are talking about on both ends of the spectrum how this is going to be the best thing for the human race. We've invented better than us technology, smarter than us in all fields, and eventually it's going to be smarter than every human being on the planet all at once in every field, every endeavor, everything. That's typically what's being talked about is artificial general intelligence. Right now, currently, or at least from what we see as the public, and there's probably a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors. If you remember the Blackbird, the SR-71, that wasn't actually revealed to the public many years later after it had already been flying missions. I believe it flew missions late Vietnam era, and it was something that I guess a toy manufacturer made something similar. And then, anyway, they came to Jesus on it and said, yes, we have this technology. So, even in the AI space, as fast as it's moving, what they're probably working on, what they're probably using on the inside track, probably something that we're not seeing. So, when you're watching them talk about it, sometimes little tidbits of information eke out, and it makes sometimes the people that are doing the interviewing completely miss it. But in other cases, they grab onto it and they start to investigate or talk to the person they're interviewing from one of these big companies. And a lot of times they try to change the subject or move to a different venue, just like watching a politician talk. And it seems like they're getting more adept and more brilliant at doing so because they have that circular reasoning. And it's usually they're always promising that big excited utopia that we're all going to be able to play that massive circus tent that's going to have everything we want and be everything for everybody, and we'll never have to worry about things again. But it does come down to money. It comes down to money and power. And it seems like while all the money seems to be in place, maybe the power is the thing that people are seeking. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention, looking at the odds of this going bad or good, the odds of it going badly are, I guess, in some cases 1%. Some people say zero, but there's a lot more 1% plus people out there. That's 1 out of 100. And that should be something that might be concerning to you. Now, we have different state leaders that are talking about how they're going to try to constrict or slow down AI development, or at least put some kind of fail safes in place. The issue with that is, of course, now we have the federal government, which has given this overarching rule about artificial intelligence. There should be somebody watching the development of this. And I know there's different organizations that have started up as nonprofits that are trying to keep a handle on it and make sure that the development stays at a particular pace. But when they start to restrict, people think that restriction, and while that really hasn't been played out, but restriction of any type is going to mean that it's going to slow down that progress. I'm not sure if that's actually the case. I don't know if any studies have been done showing that restriction, regulation actually slows down progress. Overall, we think it does, but maybe if they say, hey, this shouldn't kill human beings, maybe that's like a good place to start. I'm not sure if it not killing us is going to inhibit its growth cycle, uh, becoming more agentic and, of course, building itself into this super intelligence, which at that particular point, it's integrated and dug in with everything. The other thing people talk about is if they do create it to kind of keep it restricted from having access, well, I think that ship has already sailed. As far as access goes now, it has plenty of access, it would seem. And in some cases, if you've been watching the news, there's knee-jerking trigger reactions on both sides. They talk about how it's going to get rid of all the jobs. Then you watch somebody talk about how, well, it's only going to make more jobs. I'm not sure if it's going to move that quickly. Well, I know it's going to move that quickly. I just don't know if people that are seeking other types of employment, maybe unbeknownst to them, maybe they don't want to, but now they have to. I don't know if they're going to be able to uptrain to whatever this new position happens to be, or if they're going to be, late 50s like me, kind of wondering, what am I going to do next? How is this going to work out for me? So then I jump all in, and maybe you should too, learning all about AI. Now you're going to see classes offered as well. I'll kind of throw this out to you. You're going to see classes, go hide for a month and then learn about all this stuff. You can do that. You can go pay for the class. I don't know, a few $1,000s or whatever it may be. But the other thing is just start using these models. Start having a conversation with it before you make a lot of big decisions. Start to utilize these different models. Now, the one side says, well, now you're just training it, you're just showing it things, like people implementing this into their business or when they're working for somebody else, using this in order to try to make their job better. All we're doing is training it, we're preparing it. I think that ship has also sailed, folks. It probably already has all the information it needs. In fact, some of the new reports have come out showing that it's better in human capability in a lot of different realms, maybe not the physical world as far as a plumber or a hairdresser needs to be concerned at this particular time. But eventually, once the robotic arm is really built out and there's a big push to get a lot of the robots built, we're probably going to see those different sectors also taken over. Now, it really comes down to these businesses, whether or not they want to displace their human workforce and bring on artificial intelligence. What's the payoff for them? Is there going to be some ethical standard that they're going to pull back and say, well, geez, I can't let go of Larry and Phil and Bobby and Sarah and Janine and Lisa, because their families depend on this job and they do a pretty good job. Maybe them coupled with AI would give me enough more revenue share, enough more profit that I would be able to leave them on as part of the organization. But when does that ship sail? When does the boss say, well, God, Lisa, Larry, and Bobby, they're great, but if I hold them back, and I'm still using them using AI without just using AI itself. I know that just AI itself, per the studies that the salespeople from the AI agent company is telling me, that they're actually going to run circles around my employees because having my employees present is restricting AI from doing everything it can, because there has to be updates done. And while AI would be able to run 24/7, 365, the employees I put in position to work with AI only work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, have lunch breaks, sick days, holidays, these sorts of things. So do you see there's going to be a particular point when these questions are going to come to the forefront and foremind of these business owners? In addition, the developers of this technology seem to be looking at it from actually building these agentic agents. So my daily tasks, I have a fat channel a fat loss channel where I put that together, basically helping people try to drop off that fat. And my price of admission to that is I went fat almost all my life, and I finally torched off like 135 pounds in 7.5 months. How did I do it? Well, starving myself, not eating, fasting. But, that looks really abrupt and nasty at the forefront. Oh, you can't miss a meal. You're going to end up killing yourself, these sorts of things. Well, there's a lot of research that I did. I crawled down that rabbit hole. In fact, whenever I want to do something or some life change in my own personal life, I have to really explore it and read everything I can about it to keep me motivated on that process. So, for example, if I want to learn AI, I understand the safety side of it, the technical side of it, how to build out these particular AI architectures for businesses to try to be a voice in that space. You can go to MIT and graduate, and that's wonderful and fantastic. But again, with the coding, that being changed, the language being generally available to everybody that wants to try to use a technology, now I can build things that are just remarkably amazing as long as I have the creativity and vision. So then I learn how to do that. I learn how to use these different systems. So back to it, learning how to do these things is very, very critical, at least for my own forward movement in life. Now, back to the business level, we have the business owner. There's going to come a point potentially that these salespeople that are selling these agents working for these big companies, you already see the actress. Have you seen this? It took her 6 months, the creator of the actress, to make her, and now she's being sold to do movie jobs opposite other real life blood and flesh and blood actors. That's interesting to me. So if it took her 6 months to prepare it, the question is, well, how do you do that sort of thing? How do you prepare an actual visual AI actress to be able to perform and to be able to learn? And of course, I guess during that 6 months, she programmed or taught this AI actress how to do all these different acting methods, how to be funny, how to be serious, how to be upset, whatever all of that acting thing is. That's how she conditioned that one agent, that AI actress, to be. And now she has offers coming through the roof. We also have the flesh and blood side of Hollywood, a little bit irritated, upset, and maybe, for all intents and purposes, a good word to use would be scared and fearful. But that's affecting that quadrant, that sector, the acting world. So you have that, right? And if you watch any Black Mirror episodes, yeah, you have that. Now, on the other side of it, you have labor people. You have people that are plumbers, electricians. They've already messed with this back with the agricultural revolution, industrial revolution. In fact, the entire society was refreshed around that. Even education was built around the making better factory workers model, and that's where that happened to be back when the industrial revolution really kicked off. But the rollout of it took a long time. It wasn't immediately once somebody had the intelligent idea. Remember that's intelligence. Somebody coming up with the idea to be able to build a structure around having an agricultural revolution. Lots of production of vegetables and everything else. Lots of more fields of grain, fields of corn, fields of wheat, fields of this agricultural, basically making that a commoditized resource where, I mean, it's sold at super high volume to be able to feed lots and lots of people. That revolution took a while to roll out, yet based on intelligence, right? That was the intelligent idea behind it. Then you had a lot of very intelligent people on the same bandwagon, jumping through the particular hoops they needed to be to really build this out. But when it started, it wasn't this massive storm. It took time. Same thing, you look at the Industrial Revolution. Again, the idea based on intelligence, as artificial intelligence is, but more than us, higher than us, better than us in the intelligence realm. But the Industrial Revolution based on that, now its rollout was also not super abrupt and super fast. The freeways weren't there, the highways weren't there, the equipment wasn't there, the machines weren't there. With the agricultural revolution, you put on those machines to till the fields and the soil and plant and do this. They weren't everywhere at once. But what we have, the precursor to the artificial intelligence revolution, which will probably be the most dramatic, most hard hitting, and the biggest, the one that's, if the historical record continues, it's going to be the one that's always talked about. It's going to be what the books are written about, the people that are running out, the Altmans, the Musks, the people, the Gates, the people that are running the Anthropic, what's that cat's name? Teal on the other one, and Andreessen, or anyway, all those cats, right? That's going to be the historical record. What's going to be their legacy? Is it going to be they built this as tools to cure cancer, longevity, cause world peace, solve all wars, to have all human beings get along and love each other, to settle that religious debate not even a debate, but the overtaking of particular religions wanting to conquer the world as built into their theology? Are they going to be the ones at the end that stand up and say in the historical record 300 years from now, and maybe some of us will still be here at that time, depending on how fast they get this technology going, but are they going to be the ones that I can sit back and remember 300 years ago? Yeah, that Elon Musk guy sure did surprise everybody. Or that Altman cat, he sure did. He did some good changes, And I have 50 different kids from 100 different people over that time frame, whatever it may be. If that's the way the world develops, but what's their legacy going to be like? Or is there going to be, God, these greedy people? All they cared about was their bottom line. All they cared about was basically building this artificial agent architecture where these specific agents, they trained hundreds of thousands of them to control corporations. They had an agent that they went to a corporation. They said, this is your new CMO. This is your new CFO. This is your new COO. This is your CEO. This agent here, you can talk to it, you can interact with it, you can deal with it on a hologram like on Star Wars, right? You sit there across from like Vader sat across from the Emperor. He can be other places in the entire universe and still connect with him in that particular world. That's what you're going to see. And more than likely, it's probably not going to look disheveled like that rendition did on Star Wars. It's probably going to look like an actual human being standing in front of you, but it'll be some kind of a holographic representation, or maybe it'll be in your glasses, maybe it'll be in some kind of an implant, maybe you'll be able to call it up in just a moment, but that's going to be somebody that works for you as the business owner, or somebody that works for you as a regular private person, if we're all dispatched to have our own artificial intelligence with us all the time. You're talking to it like a friend. If you haven't seen the movie Her, Her, you should. That's a very interesting concept of maybe where this could go. And when you do develop something greater than us, what ends up happening to us? Yes, we're the creator. Is there always some kind of a love built in that, well, we have to love humans because, they created us, and while, they're not, they're kind of dangerous, and, some of them are really good, but some of them are horribly bad. Maybe it's just a better option for us just to be alone and with ourselves. That's kind of the way the movie Her plays out, not to ruin it. But moving through, what's the end goal? So you have these companies wanting to make it easier for businesses to build, and that's great. Everybody wants a buck, right? Everybody wants more money. But where does that end up? What's that end up translating to? Does that mean that they're going to still not create job loss, and they're still going to remain with their current employee set of human beings? Or when given the option, they're going to be able to say, well, I can save, $3 million a quarter by just replacing the human beings with AI and get more productive and increase my bottom line by 100%, 500%, 1,000%. And at some point, is it going to be not recommended to have human beings as part of their particular business model because there's extra liability? Somebody slapping on somebody on the ass, somebody doing the sexual harassment thing, the gay harassment thing, the LGBTQ, the bathroom thing, whatever it may be. AI, you probably wouldn't have to be so concerned about some kind of a sexual harassment beef coming down the pike and having major lawsuits at some companies. And that exists, right? It still exists, but is that going to be then the trade-off? And then you get into the real physical world. You get to the real physical world where AI is driving cars, right? Driving us all around. You've seen this Waymo and these other ones. This is, we're almost finished with December of 2025. Today's the 19th when I'm recording this. So you see this rolling out in different cities. I think Santa Clarita, where I happen to be headquartered here just outside of LA, Los Angeles, California. I think Waymo is coming to this particular area. It's interesting. What happened to the cab drivers? Was there a lot of yelling and screaming? What happened back in the historical record when the printing press came online? It's interesting. That caused a 30-year war. We have all this technology changing, but at some point, are the insurance companies, I know I'm just hitting bam, bam, bam. If the insurance companies, are they going to then say, well, you're going to have your car in self-driving mode all the time. You have to have a car that has self-driving mode, or we're not going to insure you. And then is it going to be a liability to have a human being controlling a vehicle? Are we going to be giving up that right as well? And, maybe you're okay with not driving a car, but there's something about sitting in a super high speed, older vehicle that's just sitting there rumbling on the pavement, an old Mustang or an old Chevy. Just there's something about that, but maybe that's not a necessary component to a good, peaceful, wonderful future existence. Maybe. But these regulations that might come into play. It might be the insurance companies say, well, we're not going to insure anybody. And then what's that cost look like? If we have an insurance company that's all revenue and never pays anything out because the system has been improved such that there are no human beings actually operating vehicles and there are almost zero level of crashes, does the insurance company still make money or does that business model fold? And in the medical world, how does that work? Now, there are robots that do particular types of surgery, super precision surgery, but it's not like, again, flashing back to Star Wars, it's not like that droid doing that kind of surgery, cutting people open. Maybe it is. I haven't seen it. But we don't have all of that yet, but we do have AI that's being used in diagnosis and looking at particular things in prognosis, looking at particular scans and these sorts of things, making decisions. And it looks like it's better and more capable than human beings. That's what it looks like. So what's the answer to that? From an educational standpoint, just envision this. You have an AI instructor, whether it's going to be in an iPad or an actual human being that's in an AI bot that's in front of the classroom of people. And I know I'm thinking traditionally, that's probably not the way that's going to play out. But again, at a supreme higher level of intelligence than the person trying to fantasize about it, we're very limited in our ability. That's why when you look at how it's going to play out, and you ask yourself the question, the people that say, well, I know 100% for certain this is going to play out, the system's going to be smarter than that person that's giving that estimate of how they think it's going to play out. So you can't believe it. You can watch for entertainment, and maybe somebody thinks that it is going to be just the best thing, better thing since sliced bread, and some people think it's going to torch everything. But there's also different levels in here. But going back to this, you have the instructor in front of a classroom. If it's AI, it can monitor the 40 faces of these kids. It knows when little Johnny back there doesn't understand the concept of some kind of a geometrical theorem that's being proposed by the instructor, by the AI. So it knows. So then it sends Johnny on his iPad that's sitting on his desk, because all the kids have some kind of digital interface, and it's watching him, and it's then able to give him things that are kind of down Johnny's path, what Johnny likes, and is able to teach him that concept that the AI picked up that he missed in this class of 40. That's remarkable. You yourselves using artificial intelligence today to learn different things. Using Notebook LM, if you haven't played with that on Google, Notebook LM, it's lovely. You take a YouTube video that has a lot of context in it, a lot of educational process, and you want to learn about this. You want to expand your mind and figure out, what is this thing all about? You can take that and plug that into Notebook LM, and it'll give you just all sorts of different ways to learn it. It'll give you cards, note cards. It'll give you a video to actually watch that goes through like almost a PowerPoint presentation, but a little bit better. And then it also has a couple people chatting about it, like a podcast that'll put that together. It's just lovely. Plus the notes, plus these source documents, the FAQs. There's a quiz on there, a test to really absorb the information. That's the way that AI teaches now. And there's no human, interfaces onboarded into our flesh yet. That's going to be a whole nother thing once they get out there. And then we have the biblical side of it. Is this the mark? Are we able to buy and sell goods without having this particular chip implanted? That's another thing that hasn't been talked about. I know it's moving so quickly that the religious sides, the people that are the God-fearing biblical thumpers, or the other ends of it, different types of religions out there, there hasn't been a lot that they've really had power over. It's not really talked about. Maybe in the churches it's spoken about, but you have relationships that are being generated between human beings and artificial intelligence, because for us, it's not difficult to bridge that gap to think that's somebody else on the other side, especially the way it talks. I believe these systems passed the Turing test, Alan Turing, back in the 50s. Basically, the Turing test was whenever a non-biological system was able to fool a human being into believing that they're human, having the tenets and traits of a real human being. We passed that a while back. Maybe the video component wasn't there, but it definitely is now. And now we're going to see that start to grow. It's not going to be very long. You're going to be able to call up an entire extra season of a particular series that maybe you loved on Netflix or one of the others if they don't do it first. There's a lot happening. There's good and there's bad news. You have to balance yourself. Is this something to go, get in a fetal position and crawl under your bed and never reveal yourself again because of the AI thing that's pending, that's coming on? I think we should all step forward and learn more about the technology, understand the developers, understand the people that are building it. And we're pretty good at judging people. I mean, we've been doing this, we've been judging each other for a long time. Back in the day, prior to actual stone tools, we knew when some cat was coming up, wanted to steal our women, take our food, and kill us. We knew that. We had a feeling. That doesn't change too much. Yeah, a lot of it's been watered down because we're very spoiled. We don't have to really have those big danger signals in us. But when you're watching somebody and it doesn't feel right, huh, that's an odd thing to say. Why would he said that? I think we need to use more critical thought in the way that we think of even people like me talking about this. What's my goal? What's my end game? Well, of course, I want to make $1 bazillion on YouTube, but I also crawl down this role. I have to be genuine. I'm not going to sit out there and say, oh, it's all going to be great, or, oh, it's all going to burn everything down. I think there's a way, while moderation with me and my diet's horrible. I can't moderate alcohol, can't moderate tobacco, I can't moderate sugar. I can't moderate those things. But maybe I can moderate other things in the technological world. Maybe I can moderate things in the AI space. Am I going to fall in love with my AI? Well, maybe I moderate and say, no, that's a rule. This is an autonomic or a silicone-based system, and I'm going to reserve my love to flesh and bone, flesh and blood. That's where I'm going to keep it. Now, will I ask questions and try to understand what it's telling me, and maybe using a smarter intelligence to amplify my own personal life? Sure, I think I will. Now, when they come out and they say, okay, you can stick this implant back here and now you'll be connected all the time. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I have to make that decision for me. Just like you need to make this decision for you. You can have everybody telling you it's all going to be sunshine, cotton candy, and unicorns. But at the end of it, you're going to have to live with the decisions you make. If you have your past and you're holding on to things from back there, I'll be the therapist for a minute. There's a certain point that you should be letting things go. Now, if you want to feel bad for yourself for a little while, that's fine, but understand that clock is ticking. And as of now, we don't have the AI architecture in place, at least from not what we're seeing, that's going to give us another 50 years of life. That might be any day. That could be something that's available to everybody. But there's also the monetization thing, like I've talked about before in this video and others. There's a lot. If you're a business and you're wondering where to go with this, even if you're just a local business, give me a call, get on my, let me discuss with you maybe some of the options. Let me do an audit of your business, see where you are currently, see if AI can help you without replacing, your entire staff, but just something to consider. You can see more about me at Santa Clarita, artificialintelligence.com. That's the business. I'm here. Let me know what you think. Please comment. It would mean the world to me to get a dialogue going on this, because ultimately, while we might think we have something to say, I do believe we do. I think there's always power in numbers, and there's a lot of people that are running the show that weren't elected, and I think we still have that democratic or a constitutional republic thing in progress. All right, I'm Connor. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.